Introduction to the course, Thinking in English. Hello everyone and welcome. I am truly excited that you're here, starting this powerful and practical language journey with me. Whether you're a complete beginner or someone looking to take your English skills to the next level, this course provides the tools and techniques to help you think, speak, and live confidently in English. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever struggled to find the right words when speaking in English? Or maybe you've translated everything in your mind and ended up feeling confused or frustrated. Don't worry, you're not alone. This is exactly where this course comes in. Why this course is powerful and practical. This is not just another language course filled with grammar rules and endless vocabulary lists. No, we're doing something different here. The focus is on a powerful technique called thinking in English. When you learn to think in English, everything becomes easier. Speaking flows naturally, vocabulary grows effortlessly, and your confidence soars. Imagine being able to form sentences without translating in your mind. Imagine speaking confidently and understanding others without hesitation. This is exactly what this course is designed to achieve. What you'll learn in future lessons. We've designed this course with 4 main sections, each building on the previous one to make your learning experience smooth, effective, and even enjoyable. You'll hear real stories and practical examples that help you see how these techniques work in real-life situations. We start by expanding your vocabulary in meaningful ways, not just memorizing random words. Then we move on to building confidence with pronunciation, so you can speak without hesitation. We'll guide you through daily practice routines that make thinking and speaking in English a habit. Every lesson is designed to help you progress step by step. And believe me, by the end of this journey, you'll be amazed at how naturally you think and communicate in English. Stay connected and motivated. If you haven't watched our previous courses, I highly recommend checking them out. They're filled with valuable lessons to boost your learning. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated on upcoming videos. When I was learning English myself, I decided to keep a daily journal. At first, I wrote stories in my native language and then translated them into English. But soon I realized that this process was time-consuming and difficult. So I challenged myself to write directly in English, just as I thought about events in my mind. It wasn't easy at first. I made mistakes, struggled with vocabulary, and sometimes got stuck. But I kept going. Gradually, I noticed a significant change. I was naturally thinking in English. Even when someone asked me a question in my native language, I found myself formulating the answer in English first. One day, I was in a grocery store when a stranger asked me where they could find good fresh bread. Without thinking, I said, "Oh, you can find great bread at the bakery down the street." Their reaction was priceless. That moment made me realize just how far I had come. Describing daily events in English. Now that you've decided to think in English, let's start with one of the most practical steps. Describing daily events in English. This is a fantastic way to train your mind to naturally switch from your native language to English. A simple example of a daily routine. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you wake up in the morning. Instead of thinking in your native language, I woke up and brushed my teeth. Think in English. I woke up, brushed my teeth, and made a cup of coffee. Even if it's a simple routine, expressing it in English helps build confidence. One of my students, Clara, shared her experience with me. She said, "At first it was really hard. I always thought in my native language and then translated to English. But after 2 weeks, I found myself naturally describing my morning routine in English." Clara's story shows that daily practice works wonders, turning mistakes into learning opportunities. Another one of my students, Marco, told a funny story. He was trying to describe his dinner in English and said, "I ate some chickens." Of course, he meant chicken, but we all had a good laugh and learned that chickens refers to live animals, not food. Mistakes are part of learning, and the more you practice, the better you get. Step-by-step practice. Here's a simple method to get started with practice. 1. Morning reflection. Spend 2 minutes each morning describing what you did the previous day in English. Don't worry about grammar, just focus on expressing yourself. 2. Evening writing. Write a few sentences about your day in English before bed. Keep it simple and honest. 3. Mental conversations. While doing routine tasks like cooking or commuting, try to have conversations in your mind in English. Anna, one of my former students, started by describing her entire commute to work in English. "At first," she said, "I just named things like cars, buses, and traffic lights. But after a month, I was having full conversations with myself about the weather and the people around me." Her confidence grew, and now she speaks English effortlessly. Consistency is key. The most important thing is consistency. Even if you practice for just 5 minutes a day, it makes a big difference over time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace them as part of the learning process. In future lessons, we'll explore more techniques to help you think in English, expand your vocabulary, and speak confidently. But for now, focus on describing daily events in English. You've got this. Replacing native language vocabulary with English. Now that you've started to think in English, let's move on to an exciting next step. Replacing your native language vocabulary with English. This may sound challenging at first, but it's one of the most powerful techniques you can use to strengthen your English. The goal is to think directly in English, without translating words from your native language. Why it works. When you first start learning a new language, it's natural to translate words from your native language into English. However, this can slow you down and cause confusion, especially when you try to speak quickly. Replacing words from your native language with English words will help you stop thinking in your native language and instead make English your default way of thinking. By using English words for everyday things, you'll start to associate the English words with the things they represent. This makes it easier to speak naturally and without hesitation. The power of daily practice. Let me give you an example from one of my students, Paul. Paul was struggling to remember the English word for umbrella. Every time it rained, he would think in his native language, and then translate the word into English. He realized that this process slowed him down, and sometimes he would forget the word entirely. So, Paul made a commitment to replace the word umbrella in his mind with its English equivalent. Every time he thought about an umbrella, he made sure to use the English word umbrella. He also practiced using it in sentences like, "I need an umbrella for the rain," or "Where is my umbrella?" After a while, the word umbrella became part of his everyday English vocabulary. He didn't need to translate it anymore. Paul's story shows how replacing just one word at a time can make a huge difference. It's important to focus on daily practice to make this technique work. Every time you learn a new word, try to use it in your mind and in your sentences. Simple steps to replace native language words. Here's how you can start replacing words from your native language with English. 1. Pick one word a day. Start by picking one word from your daily life. Maybe it's something you see often, like phone or book. Every time you think about that object or idea, use the English word. Don't think about it in your native language anymore, just use the English word. 2. Create simple sentences. Practice using the word in sentences. For example, if you've chosen apple, you could say, "I ate an apple for breakfast." You could also imagine different scenarios like, "I'll buy apples later," or "She loves eating apples." The more you use the word, the easier it will become to remember. 3. Replace everyday objects. Look around your house or wherever you are and start replacing the words for everyday objects with English. For example, when you see your television, say TV in English. When you open your door, say door. Try to do this throughout the day, every day. 4. Talk to yourself. While doing everyday tasks, try to talk to yourself in English. For example, when you're cooking, think or say things like, "I'm chopping vegetables," or "I need to boil the water." Talking to yourself helps your brain get used to English in real-life situations. Maria's journey to speaking English without translation. Maria, a student of mine, shared a wonderful experience about replacing her native language words with English. She said, "At first, I kept saying everything in my native language, and then I would translate it in my head. But I wanted to speak faster and more naturally, so I decided to try thinking only in English." Maria started by replacing simple words like coffee, window, and bag with their English equivalents. It wasn't easy at first. There were moments when she wanted to stop and translate, but she kept practicing every day. After a couple of weeks, she began noticing that she wasn't translating anymore. She was simply thinking and speaking in English. One day, she went to a cafe and ordered coffee in English without thinking about it. She was amazed at how natural it felt. "That was the moment I realized I had made real progress," Maria said. Challenges you might face and how to overcome them. At the beginning, you might struggle with some words. It's normal to get stuck or forget a word when you need it. But don't worry. The key is persistence. Here are some tips to help you. 1. Use flashcards. If you're having trouble remembering a word, try using flashcards. Write the word in English on one side, and a picture or the word in your native language on the other side. This can help you associate the English word with its meaning. 2. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. When you make a mistake, you're learning. Don't be afraid to try using new words. The more you practice, the better you'll get. 3. Focus on words you use every day. Don't try to replace every word at once. Start with the words you use most often. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel with thinking and speaking in English. Liam's transformation through daily practice. Liam, another one of my students, had a breakthrough moment when he replaced native language words with English. He started small with basic things like pen, book, and chair. But one day, he decided to try something different. He challenged himself to think about his entire day in English. Liam woke up and said, "I am going to the gym." He made breakfast and said, "I'm making eggs and toast." The more he practiced, the more he started thinking in English all day long. After a few months, Liam was amazed at how much progress he had made. He could speak in English without hesitating, and even his friends noticed how confident he had become. Just like any language technique, replacing native language vocabulary with English takes time and consistency. It might feel difficult at first, but don't give up. Make it a part of your daily routine, and soon you'll see amazing results. Remember, even 5 minutes of practice a day can help you replace native language words with English. By the end of this course, you'll find that English is no longer just something you learn, but something you live. So, keep practicing, stay consistent, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You can do this. Mental conversations in English. One of the most powerful ways to accelerate your English learning is through mental conversations. This technique might sound simple, but it is one of the most effective methods to integrate English into your daily life. It allows you to practice speaking in English without actually needing to speak to anyone. Let's dive into why and how this technique works. Why mental conversations are so effective. Have you ever found yourself walking down the street, thinking in your native language? What if you could use those moments to think in English instead? That's where mental conversations come in. This technique turns your thoughts into a language practice session. By having conversations in your mind, you are constantly training your brain to think in English, and over time, this will lead to more fluent and confident speech. When you engage in mental conversations, you don't need to worry about grammar rules or finding the perfect words. You're simply practicing the flow of language and getting used to the sounds, sentence structures, and rhythms of English. It's one of the most natural ways to improve without feeling pressure. Starting with mental conversations might feel a little awkward at first, but with a few simple strategies, it will become second nature. Here's how to get started. 1. Start with basic phrases. At first, you don't need to have long conversations. You can begin by simply narrating your daily routine in English. For example, as you get up, think to yourself, "I am getting up. I need to brush my teeth and make some coffee." These simple phrases are a great way to get your mind accustomed to English. 2. Practice situational conversations. Next, start thinking about common situations where you would use English. Imagine yourself at a restaurant, for example. You might think, "Excuse me, I would like to order a coffee, please." Or perhaps you are at the store. "How much does this cost?" By imagining these situations, you train your brain to respond quickly in English. 3. Use questions and answers. To make your practice more interactive, ask yourself questions and answer them. For example, what did I do today? What's my plan for tomorrow? Where do I want to go this weekend? Answering these questions in English helps you practice both forming questions and providing answers fluently. Sam's journey with mental conversations. One of my students, Sam, shared his experience with mental conversations. Sam used to struggle with speaking because he felt nervous about making mistakes. He knew grammar rules and had a large vocabulary, but when it came to speaking, he felt blocked. Sam decided to practice speaking English in his mind, especially during his daily commute. He would think about the people around him, the weather, and what he was doing. For instance, when he got on the bus, he would think, "The bus is crowded today. I hope I get a seat." It seemed simple at first, but after a week, Sam noticed that his mind was naturally switching to English. He found that he could quickly describe his surroundings in English, without stopping to translate from his native language. The big breakthrough came one day when Sam was talking to his friend. He realized he was no longer translating from his first language. His words just flowed in English. He felt a huge boost in his confidence, knowing that mental conversations had prepared him for real-world conversations. Mental conversations in different contexts. What makes mental conversations so unique is that you can practice them anywhere and anytime. Whether you're in a car, on a walk, or waiting in line, you can make use of every moment. 1. During commuting. For many learners, the commute is a perfect time to practice English. While you're waiting for the bus or train, you can start thinking in English. Describe the people around you. This person is wearing a red jacket. That man is reading a newspaper. 2. While cooking or cleaning. These routine activities are ideal for mental practice. Imagine you're cooking dinner. I'm chopping the vegetables. Now I need to stir the sauce. You're not only reinforcing vocabulary, but also training your brain to think in English while doing everyday tasks. 3. Before going to sleep. Before bed, take a moment to reflect on your day in English. Think about what happened, what you learned, and what you want to do tomorrow. For example, today was a good day. I learned 5 new English words. Tomorrow, I will practice speaking with a friend. Building confidence through mental conversations. The great thing about mental conversations is that they don't require an audience. You don't have to worry about making mistakes in front of others, which can make you feel more comfortable and relaxed. When you practice in your mind, you create a safe environment for learning. Over time, mental conversations help build your fluency. As you continue practicing, your brain will automatically begin forming sentences in English, and you'll start thinking in English without even realizing it. My own experience with mental conversations. I remember when I was first learning English. I was afraid of making mistakes, so I would only speak when I was sure I wouldn't mess up. but I found that I was avoiding situations where I could practice. Then, I decided to use mental conversations to overcome my fear. Whenever I was walking or driving, I would think to myself in English. I would ask myself questions like, "What will I do when I get home?" and answer in English. Gradually, I noticed that I was thinking in English more and more, and soon I felt more comfortable speaking it out loud. There was a moment when I had to give a presentation in English, and I was so nervous. But I realized that I had already been practicing mentally every day, and that made a huge difference. The words came naturally, and I spoke with more confidence than I had ever expected. Mental conversations are a powerful tool in your journey to fluency. By using your everyday moments to practice English, you'll slowly build confidence and improve your speaking skills. Remember, the key is consistency. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel to think and speak in English. Don't hesitate to start today. Your English will improve faster than you think. Writing a diary in English. Writing a diary in English is an excellent way to improve your language skills. It might sound simple, but it is a very effective method to practice writing, thinking, and even speaking in English. The best part is that you can do it every day, and you don't need anyone else to help. You can write about your day, your thoughts, or your goals, and all of this helps you get better at English. Why writing a diary works. When you write a diary in your native language, it's easy to just write down what happened and move on. But when you do this in English, your brain has to work harder. You need to think about the right words, sentence structure, and grammar. This is a great way to practice all the things you've learned in English. In addition, writing a diary allows you to think in English. You are not translating from your native language. You are directly thinking and writing in English. This will help you become more confident when you speak the language because you are used to forming sentences in your mind. Getting started with your English diary. Starting a diary might seem like a big task, but don't worry. It's all about consistency. The more you write, the easier it gets. Here's how to get started. 1. Write about simple things. At first, it's okay to keep it simple. Write about what you did during the day. For example, today I woke up early and had a cup of coffee. I went to the park and played football with my friends. It's important to start small and not worry about making everything perfect. 2. Describe your feelings. One great way to practice English is by describing how you feel. This will help you expand your vocabulary and learn new expressions. For example, instead of just saying, "I was happy," you can say, "I felt really happy because I met my friends today. I was excited when I saw my favorite movie." 3. Use new vocabulary. Each day, try to add new words to your diary. You can look up words you don't know and use them in your writing. For example, if you learn the word delicious, you can say, "The pizza I had for dinner was delicious." Or if you learn the word tired, you could say, "I'm tired because I had a long day at work." This will help you remember new words and use them in real situations. Mark and his English diary. Let me tell you about Mark, one of my students. Mark was struggling with writing in English because he felt embarrassed to make mistakes. He didn't think his English was good enough, so he avoided writing. I told him to start writing a diary in English, and at first, he was not sure about it. But after a few days, he came to me with a funny story. Mark had been writing every day, but he was always worried about grammar. One day, he wrote, "I am go to the supermarket," instead of, "I am going to the supermarket." He didn't notice the mistake, and when he read it later, he laughed. He thought, "How can I say this? I am go." He started laughing at himself and realized that making mistakes wasn't as bad as he thought. It was just a part of learning. He felt much more confident after that day. The funny part is that Mark started writing even more after that. He felt like making mistakes was just a normal part of learning a language, and now he didn't mind at all. His diary became more interesting, and his English improved so much in just a few weeks. How writing a diary can improve your speaking. You might be thinking, how does writing a diary help me speak better? The answer is simple. When you write in English, you're practicing the way words are put together in sentences. This practice helps you understand sentence structure and grammar. So when you need to speak, your brain is already used to forming sentences in English. For example, imagine you are talking to someone about your day. You might say, "Today I went to the park. It was a nice day." Because you've been writing these kinds of sentences in your diary, your brain can quickly form similar sentences when you are speaking. Also, the more you write, the more vocabulary you will learn. This makes it easier for you to find the right words when speaking. For instance, if you've written the word delicious many times, it will be easier for you to remember it when you need it in conversation. How writing a diary in English helped her master the language. Sarah had always been in the habit of writing in her diary. Since she was a child, every night before going to bed, she would write about her day. This had become a daily routine for Sarah. In her diary, she would write about everything, from her daily activities, friends, to even her feelings. However, one of the issues she faced was that her younger sister always sneaked into her room and read her diary. Sarah didn't like that her sister knew all the details of her life. Her sister would always ask her questions about the things she had written, and that bothered Sarah a little. One day, Sarah had an idea. What if she started writing her diary in English? She knew that if she wrote in English, her sister, who didn't know the language yet, wouldn't be able to read it. This idea excited Sarah and gave her motivation. Sarah started writing her diary in English. At first, it was hard. She had to learn new words and structure sentences correctly. But she decided to practice every day. Sarah used different methods to learn English. She wrote down new words, used a dictionary, and kept writing in her diary in English. Each night, as she looked back at her diary, she felt proud of her progress. Months passed, and Sarah became more fluent in English. Writing in English was no longer difficult for her. She was able to write more complex sentences and express her emotions more accurately. Most of all, she was happy that her sister could no longer read her diary and find out all the details about her personal life. Now, Sarah could write in peace and enjoy describing everything without anyone interfering. But the most interesting part of this story is how writing in English helped Sarah improve her language skills. Not only did she become better at English, but her ability to think in English also improved. She no longer had to think in her native language and then translate into English. She could easily think and write in English. This helped her speak more quickly and confidently. After a while, when Sarah looked at her diary, she realized how much she had grown in her language skills. She was now able to write and speak English fluently, and this newfound confidence was something she had never experienced before. Tips for writing your English diary. To make your diary writing even more effective, here are some helpful tips. 1. Set a time to write. Try to write in your diary at the same time every day. This could be in the morning before you start your day or in the evening before you go to bed. The key is consistency. 2. Use pictures or stickers. Sometimes it's easier to express yourself with pictures or stickers. You can draw something or attach pictures that describe your day. This makes the process more fun and helps you remember new vocabulary. 3. Ask yourself questions. Instead of just writing about your day, try asking yourself questions. What was the best part of today? What do I want to do tomorrow? What's something new I learned today? Answering these questions helps you think more deeply and use a wider range of vocabulary. 4. Read your entries. From time to time, go back and read what you've written. This will help you see how much you've improved. You might find new words and sentences that you used without realizing it. Writing a diary in English is a simple but powerful tool for improving your language skills. It helps you practice vocabulary, sentence structure, and thinking in English. Don't worry about making mistakes, just enjoy the process and let your creativity flow. The more you write, the better you will get. Soon, you'll feel more confident in both writing and speaking. Start today, and you'll be amazed at how much your English improves.